Hello everyone, welcome to Mr. Hancock's English course. This is for Comp 2, particularly with the Unit 2 Poetry Analysis Essay. And in this video we're going to speak about how to approach the poetry, how to read the poetry, and particularly what we see going on in two of the poems, Robert Frost Birches and William Wordsworth's The World is Too Much With Us. A lot of W's in that. But I want to talk about how to approach this and kind of give you some ideas, especially when you go into reading the poem. So I'm going to refer to my book at times as I'm talking to you, and I will break this up into multiple videos if I need. But the first thing I want to say is when you're reading the poetry, a few things to keep in mind. The number one thing is that you're treating this right now, you're going to be treating this just like you did the last essay. You're going to look for a topic. What is this poem about? Okay, so for instance, let's say one particular topic in Birches is escape. All right, so we know it's about escape, but here's the deal. We're not done. That's not your theme. That's not your argument. You have to ask the question. Think of your question funnel. And your scientific method bubbles is very important in a second. You have to ask, what is this poem teaching me about escapism? What is it trying to tell me about escape? All right? And particularly, what is the narrator doing? Escaping life, trying to imagine life, the hardships of adulthood. It's trying to escape that by thinking of something that's more innocent, something that's more childlike, a boy swinging on birches. So if we see that going on here, what is the message? What is it trying to tell us, to the reader, to someone who may have not have done that as a kid, but an adult who may be dealing with hard times in life? What is it trying to tell us? With that being said, we're going to do what we did last paper. We're going to start with that topic, ask the question we just asked, get our thesis, which will be our theme. We'll get our theme, which will turn into the thesis, and then we'll use the poem, evidence from the poem. You'll go over here to the poem and highlight, dig through, mark whatever you need to find evidence. And notice how big this is. There's so much in this poem that you can build paragraphs upon. And so you're going to have to be very selective and choose only the best evidence for this essay. And I say you need to go from a minimum of 750 as the minimum, but I would say no more than 1,000 words max, because you can go on and on about this stuff. So C method, just like the last one. All right, so go back and review the C method. Now here's the deal when it comes to research, and this is where I want to talk about. And primarily, and I'm not going to click into it right now, but if you go into Unit 1, open up the analytical essay writing handout and look at your scientific method, all those colored bubbles. In the last one, we skipped the do research or do background research button or the bubble. That's very important right now. The biggest mistake students will make at this point is they will come up with their thesis, they'll go through, get their C method, get everything lined out, and then go look for sources. You're going to hurt yourself bad with that, because what you're going to end up doing is waiting to the last minute to look for sources, and then you won't find any, because you're going to be looking for sources that are going to be perfectly in line with every point you already made, and you're not going to find that. It doesn't exist. So what you have to do is, as you're reading your poetry, trying to understand your poetry, you're doing background research, you're trying to see what other people are thinking, what other people are saying, and then you're going to discover sources that way. And as you're doing that, you're starting to see things line up with the book, your poem, and then the research on the computer. So you'll meld them together and you'll synthesize those ideas. So when you go to make your thesis and when you go to start outlining your C method in your body paragraphs, you should have at least all of your, or most of your sources, 90% I would say, but I'm going to go ahead and say all. You should have all your sources, and you should put them together and build your thesis and your body together with your ideas and your research. So please, I'm telling you, the worst thing you can do right now is wait to do research until you already get your ideas for your paper. It's going to make it really hard on you, okay? So with that being said, and I really say that, hang on, I want to say that I really say that when we start to look at Wordsworth's The World is Too Much With Us. That's a very difficult poem, but if you really go and look and see what the poem is about and research and see what people are saying, you'll see it come to life. You'll see the evidence just jump out at you, okay? And then you see what it's about and what the poem is trying to do. Then you're going to be, and what other people are saying, then you'll be able to take those ideas, take your ideas, and see what you're pulling from the poem and put them together. So you have to do that. I've had conversations in class where we start off with not knowing what the Wordsworth poem was about, and by the end of the class we saw that it was just full of more information than we needed for an essay, okay? So really keep that in mind. So that's what you want to think about when you're getting into birches. And just think, what's going on at the surface level? Think on that right now with this poem. What's going on the surface level with frost birches? There's an ice storm that is bending down birch limbs, but he doesn't want to see that. He wants to imagine that a boy is swinging them and bending them down. And then at the end, he said, I just want to get away for a while. Not to go away forever, but just to get away. In a way to reset himself. So think about that right there. What is that trying to teach us? And then really use that evidence to build your case along, and I say along, not with add some research in it, just get someone to throw it in, use some dunk quotes and have that, you have to put them together, okay? So with that being said, take a moment and look at The World Is Too Much With Us. And I'm probably not going to be able to find the page now. Here it is. It was like 590 something. I can't remember. But when you're looking at, here it is, on 593, The World Is Too Much With Us, very small poem. But what's going on? Notice words when it says things like nature and everything like that. And you'll notice what we see with Wordsworth. During his time, he was experiencing the Industrial Revolution. And this isn't anything I expect you to know, but research. Just look and see what's going on. Look for the setting. During the Industrial Revolution, people were moving from the agrarian country life to the city, into the slums, into all these bad things. Of course, that's what Wordsworth saw. So he saw there was a connection with us in nature and living a simple life. And now that we're getting all this materialism in the city, or moving into civilization with materialism, the materialism is destroying us. And we need to go back. With me saying that, look at some research. Go back and read the poem and see what the poem is trying to tell us about what nature means and what it means. What are we really not connected to anymore? And what are we really connected to now with materialism? Think about that and answer those questions. And here we go. One more time before I stop here. What's your topic? What's the poem about? Start with the big question funnel, okay? The big question funnel, I'm trying to get in the screen here. The big question funnel, it starts off broad at the top. Very broad, basic questions. And the more you answer those, you'll lead you to more, and the more focused they get. To when you get to the end of the funnel, it's a very specific, pointed question that leads you to a thesis. And inside that, you're putting research in and leading you to the next question. What's going on in the poem? What's the poem about? Decide on that topic and then ask, what is this poem trying to teach us, trying to tell us about blank, whatever that blank is for your topic, okay? And answering that question will help you lead to a thesis. But you can't get to that thesis without first getting the research and synthesizing your analysis and research, okay? Well, there it is. Those are those two poems. If you have any more questions, let me know, and I'll have the other poems to follow.